Dear students, this is another video on center of mass. In the previous video on center of mass, we had discussed the center of mass of a two-particle system. We had discussed that if we have two particles, namely A and B, which can be represented in a coordinate system of axis, then the position vector of center of mass of these two particles will be given by r vector equals to m1 r1 vector plus m2 r2 vector divided by m1 plus m2, right? So I'll just again recapitulate the whole scenario. Basically, these are two particles A and B. A has mass m1 and B has mass m2. The position vector of A particle is r1 vector and the position vector of particle B is r2 vector. And this is the line joining these two particles and this is center of mass of these two particles. Now we assumed that the center of mass had a position vector r vector. The target of the previous derivation was to find out the value of this r vector, right? And this was the value that we got, okay? So conclusions that you can have after this value will be: conclusion number 1, always remember that if you have a system comprising of only two particles, okay, then the center of mass of a two particle system always lie on the line joining those two particles. I repeat, if there are only two particles in the system, then their center of mass lies at the line joining them, right? Like A and B were two particles and the center of mass, their center of mass was lying on the line which was joining those two particles. Let's have a proof of this, okay? Suppose this is particle 1 having mass m1. Suppose this is particle 2 having mass m2, right? So if you suppose that center of mass lies at the origin, you can see here, this is the center of mass C. If this center of mass is shifted at the origin, like this is considered as the origin, then r vector will have the value 0. Reason being, r vector was the distance between your decided origin and center of mass. Now, if you decide the origin to lie at center of mass, so this means capital R vector, which was the position vector of center of mass, that will be 0, right? So that's what I am going to write here. If center of mass lies at origin, then R vector, which is the distance of center of mass and the origin, that will reduce to 0. Now what's the value of R vector? It's m1 r1 vector plus m2 r2 vector divided by m1 plus m2. So this goes to 0. If you take this to the other side, you're going to get m1 r1 vector plus m2 r2 vector equals to 0, right? So after that, take one of these terms to the other side and you're going to get m2 r2 vector equals to minus m1 r1 vector. Now you can find out the value of r2 vector, which will come out as minus m1 upon m2 r1 vector. Now you can clearly see that r2 vector and r1 vector, these two are vector quantities. In fact, they are position vectors and these two vectors are related to each other by a negative sign. So always remember, when two vectors are related to each other by a negative sign, this clearly indicates that they have opposite directions, exactly opposite directions, right? This is the origin. So if r1 vector lies to the right of the origin, r2 vector will lie to the left of the origin. So origin was center of mass because we considered it. So this means center of mass is somewhere lying on the line which is joining the two particles, because r1 vector was the distance of the decided origin and particle A, and r2 vector was the distance between the decided origin and the particle B, isn't it? So the line which is joining A and B, the center of mass is lying there. So by this derivation, we have proved that. Okay. So this was the first conclusion. Second conclusion, center of mass of two particles lies closer to the heavier particle. Like if you have two particles, M1 and M2, we know that for a two particle system, center of mass always lies on the line which is joining them. But it is not necessary that center of mass would essentially lie at the center of the line joining these two particles, right? It's not necessary. Center of mass always decides its position according to the mass distribution. Like if you have a two particle system, right, then the center of mass will always lie closer to the heavier particle. I repeat, if you have a two particle system, then center of mass will first of all lie on the line joining those two particles, and secondly, it is going to, it is going to lie closer to the heavier particle. So let's have a look. Here, till here, you have derived here. R2 vector equals to minus M1 upon M2 R1. So this is what I am going to write over here. Okay. And then if I consider magnitudes only, like I know this is a vectorial relationship, right? But if I consider the magnitudes only, I need to ignore the vector signs. I need to ignore this negative sign also, because this negative sign has been established between two vector quantities, right? So I need to ignore the vector signs and the negative sign. Reason being, because I am going to consider the magnitudes only. So this is what I am going to get. R2 equals to M1 divided by M2 R1. Okay. Take this R1 to the other side, right? And this is what you're going to get. Now if a particle, okay, this is a situation M1 and M2. This is particle A. This is particle B. Okay. So if M1 is greater than M2, like suppose particle A is heavier than particle B, M1 is greater than M2, don't you think that you can write it as M1 greater than M2 into 1? Just multiply it with 1. Makes no difference, right? So take this M2 to the other side. You're going to get M1 upon M2 greater than 1. So this stuff of this equation is greater than 1, isn't it? So if this is greater than 1, this also has to be greater than 1, because they both are equal. Like if M1 by M2 is greater than 1, so R2 by R1 is also greater than 1. Okay, so this means R2 is greater than R1. You won't realize what you have proven just now. If center of mass is the origin and you are measuring all the distances from center of mass. Okay, so if a particle is heavy, very, very heavy, like you consider M1 is greater than M2. This is M2. Then R2 is greater than R1. Like the distance, this distance is very greater than this distance. You know what you have proven? That center of mass actually lies very, very closer to the heavier mass. Okay, so yes, here we have proven the second conclusion. Now we'll consider the third case. The third case is when the two particles are of equal masses. Okay, like when they both are of 1 kg or 2 kg each, whatever. Okay. Otherwise, particles are measured in grams only. I'm sorry for mentioning kg. So, when the particles are of equal masses, then m1 equals to m2 equals to m. Like we are considering that they both are equal. In that case, r vector equals to this. This is otherwise relationship for, this is the position vector of center of mass. Okay. So here, what are you going to do in place of m1? Just write m. In place of m2, just write m. Okay. Because they both are equal. So this m1 plus m2 can be taken to the other side. And this remains as it is. Now put m in place of m1 and m2 both. And you're going to get that r vector is equal to r1 vector plus r2 vector divided by 2. Don't you think this is resembling some coordinate geometry relationship midpoint formula? Basically, this is the situation that when two particles are of equal masses, like m and m, then their center of mass lies exactly at the center of the line joining those two particles. Okay, so this is what we have proven. So this derivation was a proof for what? That when the particles, two particle system has got two equal particles, then particles of equal masses, rather I should say, particles of equal masses, then the center of mass will always lie exactly at the center of the line joining those two particles. Now we need to understand the motion of center of mass. We know that if we have a two particle system, then their position vector, the position vector of center of mass, comes out as m1 r1 vector plus m2 r2 vector divided by m1 plus m2, where r vector is the distance of origin from center. It's the distance of vectorial distance of center of mass from the origin. This is the vectorial distance of particle A from the origin, and this is the vectorial distance of particle B from the origin. Okay, so this was the case of two particle system, right? So, but if your system has n particles, like it has many particles, then what are you going to observe? That if the system contains many particles, like n particles, then the position vector formula can be extended to those n particles, right? And in place of writing it for two particles, you can extend it simply m1 r1 plus m2 r2 so on up to mn rn. Similarly, the denominator can also be extended. In place of m1 plus m2, you can write m1 plus m2 plus so on up to mn. Okay. So after that, what are we going to do? We are going to add the summation signs. R vector can be written as it is, and this is summation I is equal to 1 to n miri. This means that you have to open these terms and you just need to add them, and one by one you will be changing the values of subscripts, right? Like you are going to write m1 r1 plus m2 r2. This I goes on running from 1 to n, and the terms are to be added, right? And this m1 plus m2 plus mn, don't you think that this is the sum of all the particles of the system? So if you are summing up the masses of all the particles of the system, don't you think you're going to get the mass of the entire system? Of course, yes. We are going to get, after this term is solved, we are going to get the mass of the whole system. So that's what I have written over here. This is capital M. Capital M is the mass of the whole system, right? So take this capital M to the other side. How? I'll show you. Take this capital M to the other side and you're going to get this term, right? And you know that this is summation and you can open it anytime you would like when the summation is running from 1 to n. Okay. So when you differentiate this equation with respect to time, m is constant, right? M is constant. So m dr vector by dt, okay, this is differentiation of course, equals to m1 as it is dr1 by dt, m2 dr2 by dt, and this goes up to nth particle, right? And when you have differentiated both sides, you've got this equation. But this equation calls for a very important expression. Like we know that dr vector by dt is resembling displacement per unit time. Okay, it's resembling displacement per unit time, and displacement per unit time is nothing but velocity. So that's what I am going to write over here. This capital R vector was, please notice that I am using capital letters for center of mass. Okay, so this capital R vector is the position vector of center of mass. So that's what I am going to write. Dr vector by dt equals to velocity of center of mass v vector. dr1 by dt, v1 vector, velocity of first particle, velocity of second particle, and so on up to velocity of nth particle. So this is yet another equation that you have got, right? So if you decide to differentiate this equation yet another time, then this will be m as it is dv vector by dt equals to m1 dv1 by dt, dv2 by dt, and this goes on till the nth particle. Okay, and we know that this equation that you have got by differentiating again, this equation calls for a very important expression in physics. This dv by dt is resembling velocity per unit time. Change in velocity per unit time, rather I should say. And change in velocity per unit time is nothing but acceleration. So that's what I'm going to write over here. M into a vector, mass into acceleration. This capital A is acceleration of center of mass. And dv1 by dt is a1 vector, dv2 by dt is a2 vector. A1 vector is the acceleration of first particle, a2 vector is the acceleration of second particle, and the situation goes on and on, right, till the nth particle. Then